الحمد لله رب العالمين ونصلي ونسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم. As usual, before carrying on with hadith number 13 from the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala rahmatan wasi'ah, we just briefly go back mentioning a few points just so we constantly revising, going over what we've covered so far. We mentioned in hadith number 7 that this religion in its entirety encompasses an-nasiha, right? An-nasiha, and we said, has got different meanings depending on the context which we find the word nasiha. In the context of Allah Azza wa Jal, obedience and fulfilling the rights of Allah Azza wa Jal. In the context of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right, fulfilling the rights of our beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And from his rights, we have mentioned 4 things. Yeah, 4 things. It is live. Yes, it is not. Four things we mentioned regarding the rights of our Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They were, well, the rights of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We mentioned 4 things. The rights of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that he has upon us. Naam.
I remember one of them was obedience to that.
Yes, ta'atu fima amar, that's one of them, obedience. Another one? La yu'bad Allah, we do not worship Allah Azza wa Jal except the way He legislated. So staying away from that which He prohibited. And then last one is tasdiquhu fima akhbar, right? I was waiting for the 4th point from you. Right, so affirming that which He tells us and believing in that which He informed us, whether it's from the seen or the unseen. In light of the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal, when it comes to the context of nasiha with Book of Allah Azza wa Jal, is forming that crucial bond with the Quran in all these ways that we covered when we were discussing hadith number 7 about nasiha. And then it was a nasiha in the context of the leaders of the Muslims, right? And general dua for them, because the leaders of the Muslims, where that is applicable, if they are upright, then that automatically affects all the Muslims that are living under their rule. So that is why no matter on what wavelength we find those leaders, we should always make dua for them, right? So it's a misconception and a mistake where people, sometimes when the dua is being made for a certain leader of the Muslims, they put their hands down, right? And this is not correct, because the du'as that are being made for the leaders, we want that to be accepted. Hidayah, tawfiq, these are things that we want for the leaders. Because through the acceptance of dua, there is benefit to the ummah of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And then the last one in the context that we are familiar with when it comes to the word nasiha is advice. And then we spoke about the etiquettes of advice, right? And we said that the most important thing is fixing your intention. Before you give advice, why are you giving advice? Why, now that you want to call towards ma'ruf or prevent munkar, you call towards good or you're preventing evil, what is the purpose of you now advising this certain individual or group or anyone from the Muslims? Right? You fix your intention so it's not anything other than for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla alone. Other than that, we mentioned keeping in mind the ayah crucial to النصيحة, advising others, which is ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة. You call towards the path of your Lord with hikmah, wisdom. Hikmah being subjective, yeah, depending on the situation you find yourself. For example, when you're advising someone older than you, when you're advising someone of status in the community, when you're advising someone in front of others. You know, these are different scenarios that you have to deal with in different ways using hikmah through the correct intention. That you don't, for example, advise a person in front of others. Yeah, generally when you want to tell someone a certain thing that you may have seen from them, or that you just generally want to advise them to do good, you take them to the corner and you make them understand that what you want for them is good. And this ties with today's hadith, which is why it's being mentioned. That you want for them good, and you intend on being successful in this mission, this exam in this dunya together. And that is the only reason why you're telling them. And then even telling them the way you should come across should be genuine, where you want to help. And you say, you know what, I'm going to mention this to you, akhi, and you can take it or leave it. I'm just going to say it because I love you for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, you know, and I want success for you, and you can take it or leave it. And you know, in that way, it's more likely for your advice to be accepted in the first place. If you were to, no one likes when you come in front of everyone, tells them, akhi, you've done this, you need to do this, I haven't seen you doing this, you haven't prayed your sunnahs, I've seen you doing stuff, La. Especially when it comes to stuff you've seen from them. Then there's another problem in front of others where you're exposing them. You're not supposed to expose anyone. You make excuses, as we mentioned in the Jummah khutbah. You make excuses, as many excuses as you can for your Muslim brothers in faith. May Allah Azza wa Jal open our doors. طيب, today hadith number 13, الحديث الثالث عشر عن أبي حمزة أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه خادم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه رواه البخاري ومسلم. On the authority of Rasulullah's beloved servant Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu served Rasulullah for the whole duration he was in Medina for 10 years, and is the last companion of the Messenger ﷺ to pass away. The very last companion of Rasulullah ﷺ, to the point where he would tell people, there is no one on the face of this earth that can say رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم or سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلا أنا, except for me. You know, that's the flex. When you say that I am the only one on the face of the earth that can say, I heard the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, I saw the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, I was with the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. You know, so he passed away at a very old age, radiallahu anhu, and he reports that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, none of you will truly believe. لا يؤمن أحدكم. None of you will truly believe until and unless you love for your brother what you love for yourself. A very popular, common hadith of the Messenger ﷺ, used day in, day out, heard from anyone in the jama'ah, in the community, continuously at all times. But it is extremely vital, essence of Muslim identity and character and being upright, solving so many societal problems. If we were to emulate this one hadith of the Messenger ﷺ, love for your brother what you love for yourself. One of the major problems we have in our community is that we quickly have this feeling of jealousy and envy towards our Muslim brothers in faith. And the difference between the two, al-bukhl and al-hasad. Yeah? So one jealousy is that you see someone, he's got something, and it pains you that he's got it. You want it as well. Let's say he has a car. He has a nice car. There's a difference between being happy and saying Allahu barik, recognizing that the car is nice. But then there is jealousy. When it pains you that he's got the car and you want it as well. And the one that's the worst, the next step of a crime from the kabair, al-hasad. This is what we seek refuge from. Min sharri hasidin idha hasad. From the envious person when he envies. Because envy is what caused the destruction of Iblis. Alayhi la'natullah. Right? I was just about to say alayhi salam. Alhamdulillah, I didn't say it. Ala kullin, al-hasad is the difference between envy and jealousy. Jealousy simply pains you that that person's got something and you want it as well. But envy is when you want it and you don't want that person to have it. Right? So we see how it's more of a problem when a person is hasad. May Allah Azza wa Jal keep us away from hasad. And this comes from not following this hadith in any way, shape or form. لا يؤمن أحدكم. Now this doesn't mean that you don't believe at all. Rather, you haven't reached full, true faith in your heart. You have a sickness in your heart if you don't love for your brother what you love for yourself. So when you see someone being successful, has got wealth, these are bounties and blessings that Allah Azza wa Jal gave him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah said, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. When he's referring to the rich, upright servants from the companions. This is Allah Azza wa Jal's blessing that He bestows upon whomsoever He pleases. So when you see someone's got a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal, you're supposed to be happy for them. Why? Why are you blaming that person for having it? If you want to have it, Allah Azza wa Jal gave that person, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give you as well. You know? It's Allah Azza wa Jal gave him. So as soon as you see something like this, make sure your first utterance to keep away the filth of shaitan is Allahumma barik, ma sha Allah, zadak Allah, you know? Du'as for that person, recognizing Allah's will for that person, rather than have this silly, ridiculous pain in your heart just because that person's got it and you don't have it. You know, it's absolutely silly. And it causes so many problems. Almost all cases of sihr, when you go back to who started it, family members. Why? He was successful, so they went to the magician. Myself, when I did ruqyah for someone, in the end, when the jinn was in control, so we start speaking and exposed which sahir had sent the jinn in the first place. And who came to the sahir? Who? His uncles, aunties from his dad's side. Family. Not only family, silat al-rahim. The closest of kin. Uncle, his own uncles and aunties from dad's side, because he had successful marriage and he had a successful career. So they went to the magician. They couldn't handle it. Absolute pathetic ignorance. You know? This is what this kind of problems cause. And then we all know what happens when these matters of sihr and magic and jinns get involved. May Allah Azza wa Jalla safeguard us all. And there are many scenarios like this where it causes problems. You know, it causes animosity. You don't see eye to eye with that person because it pains you that that person is either successful or is happy. Like one family member, they were watching a wedding of their one of their nieces. They're sitting there biting their nails. What's happened? You okay? Why is she happy? Why is she smiling? Her wedding, what do you expect? You want her to cry? It's her wedding. Why? Why does it pain you? Why does it cause you pain that she's happy? You know? And this then ties also with the matter of advice, as we mentioned before. When you love for your brother or you love for yourself, so you want to advise him and you want to speak to him for the improvement of you both, so that you're both successful. You want success for yourself, so you want it for that person. That is when it comes to advice. You want to stay away, you love to stay away from certain evil habits or sins, so you love for others to also be far away from those sins. And you're genuine with advice. Another problem, another scenario. When there is an opportunity of khair or an opportunity of success, what tends to happen? We hide it from others. We don't give others, that same opportunity, because there is sickness in the heart. For example, if you and your friend, you're both looking for a job, and you manage to find a route to a very good job with good pay, you decide not to tell him. You decide to go ahead with it yourself, so you get the whole benefit. Not knowing that this goes against prophetic teachings. In jihad, in jihad, the companions were fighting in the desert heat. They were dying of thirst. So when they found a bit of water, it was given to one of the companions. He says, no, give it to my brother, he's more thirsty than me. So they take it to that one, the second person. He says, no, this other brother is more thirstier than me, I can see it. So they take it to number 3. He says, no, abadan mustahil, I will never touch this water until fulan drinks from it. Number 4. Number 4 says, no, I'm not going to drink from it. Number 5 looks more thirsty than me. Number 5 tells them to go back to number 1, and by the time they come back to number 1, all 5 have passed away of thirst. This is ukhuwa, brotherhood, wanting for your brother what you want for yourself, loving for your brother what you love for yourself. So when this inclination, negative inclination in your heart takes place against your Muslim brother, remember this. Loving for your brother what you love for yourself, and it happens to everyone, especially when it comes to the sly ones, where, for example, there's an opportunity, but you prefer yourself over that person. Whenever that comes to your mind, whenever shaitan tries, remember, loving for him what you love for yourself. Another point I would like to add to this is, when you want for Allah Azza wa Jal to bless you with anything, I'll give you a bonus, right? A more guarantee of your dua being accepted. When you make dua and you want something, whatever it may be, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give that to your Muslim brother. You don't even need to ask for yourself. Why? Why am I saying this? Because Rasulullah said in the Hadith, if you make dua for your Muslim brother, the angel will say Ameen, and may that be given to you as well. And this also cleanses your heart from this disease. When you constantly do this, you want the khair, you're not even making dua for yourself, but you ask Allah to grant your brother that which you want. Say you want a car, and you ask Allah, oh Allah, grant Fulan a car, grant Ayyub a car, Ameen. So you ask in your du'as that Fulan that you know, may Allah Azza wa Jal give to him that which you want for yourself. And that way it helps your heart stay clean from any disease that's got to do with preferring yourself over others. One of the brothers I know, he used to make dua for years to get into the Islamic University of Medina. For years and years, he's making dua. What was his dua? May Allah Azza wa Jal allow my friend to go Jamia Islamiyah. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept him into the Islamic University of Medina. Constantly. He barely mentioned himself. Constantly mentioned that person. A couple of months after, that person got accepted. A couple of years after, he got accepted. So they're both right now studying at the Islamic University of Medina. So when you want something for yourself, you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant others that which you want for yourself. Yeah? This keeping away from any negatives as a result of preferring yourself will save you a lot of problems and a lot of issues, and will keep friendships and family ties intact, no matter what you see them going through. Because it's a big problem in our community. It leads to disunity. It leads to problems. It leads to negative assumptions. It's like a black seed in your heart for that person. And you always have negative vibes when it comes to that person. You always want to degrade that person. Because of that sickness in the heart, that you want that which that person's got. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who gives. In the hadith earlier that I mentioned, the companions, they came, they said, Ya Rasulullah, the rich from amongst us, they have taken all the reward. They pray like we do, they fast like we do, but then on top of it, they also give in charity, but we can't because we're poor. So he asked them to do good deeds as part of sadaqat. Sadaqah is not only wealth, but it's also in actions. Many things that can be sadaqah. But then the rich people, them hearing this, they also start to do this. There's a problem again. So they came back to Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, but now the rich people, you told us something, but then they also start doing it. And on top of that, they still give in charity. What now? This is when he said, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. This is Allah's bounty and blessing. He gives. He's the one who decided to give. Don't blame that person for having it. Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who gave him. So this connects again to your yaqeen, your correct understanding of how wealth is ultimately given by Allah Azza wa Jalla, even though it may look like it's through others. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to open our doors. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to keep any animosity away from us. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bring our hearts closer. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to keep shaitan and our own desires away from affecting the bond that we have with our Muslim brothers in faith. Any questions before we end?
On the topic of preventing, giving someone like an evil eye and stuff. So, if the person's a non-Muslim, would it still be appropriate for us to mention the name of Allah? So, let's just saying Allah Mabarak or Mashallah, or would that be like not something you would do because they're not Muslim? I don't want to complicate it. I'm just.
No, I understand.
This is a question I think someone else asked before a while back, and I don't think someone answered it, so I don't know if it's something you advise on.
Right. So when it comes to the wording itself, there's no barakah in there. So we can't say Allahumma barik because it cannot be any barakah in what he's got. There's no barakah in what he's got. There's no barakah in his actions or anything because he's outside the fold of Islam. So these sayings generally are not uttered when it comes to addressing the non-believers, right? Because what you mean when you say it, MashaAllah, Allah Mubarak, is that Allah willed that for him. Allah wanted to have it in a positive light. That's why you're saying it. But when there's no positive when it comes to someone who's outside the fold of Islam. If you want to say MashaAllah with the literal meaning in mind, as in whatever Allah wills, Allah decided to give this person despite him being a non-believer, perhaps. But generally, when it comes to why we say it, we say in a positive light. Like this, you love for your brother what you love for yourself, right? This is one of the reasons why you say that. But that wouldn't really be applicable when it comes to non-believer. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.
I was thinking in the context of kind of like preventing giving someone else an unintentional like evil eye. That can be a thing, right?
They are the situation they're in. The evil eye is the least of their worries. Evil eye is not really an issue compared to their current state. Yeah, so it shouldn't be a problem, inshallah. Because the thing is, like, they don't have anything to protect them anyways. The shield that we have, they don't have, so it's not going to make a difference. خلاص وصلى على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.